Hi, my name is Lauren Johnson, and I work with the Prevention Council of Putnam to help reduce opioid overdose deaths. Just about 1 year ago, almost to the date, I became certified by the opioid overdose prevention providers to help train and distribute naloxone here in Putnam County. So over the last year, I have trained and distributed almost 1,100 naloxone kits. So I'm really excited. And so to celebrate my 1 year anniversary, I thought that I would go back and answer 5 of my most frequently asked questions when I'm doing these naloxone trainings. So just to remind everybody, Naloxone, or Narcan brand name, is a medication that can reverse opioid overdose. The formulation of Narcan that's being distributed by the Prevention Council is an intranasal spray. It's very easy to use, and it can be distributed to anybody. So anybody can carry Naloxone or Narcan. It doesn't need to be medically trained individuals. It really anybody can carry. So if you are interested in getting your free Naloxone kit from the Prevention Council, you can call 845-225-4646 to get your free kit, or you can visit us at www.preventioncouncilputnam.com. All right, let's dive into these top 5 questions. So the number one question that I always get asked is, can Narcan hurt you? So Narcan, when it is administered to somebody who's experiencing an opioid emergency or an opioid overdose, when it's sprayed into the nose, the medication travels up to your brain and knocks anything that's occupying the opioid receptors up there, knocks that off of there, and allows the opioid receptors to kind of free up, and allows a person to start breathing normally and for their heart rate to kind of gain some normalcy. So that's the way that naloxone works, and it stays up there and prevents anything else from binding onto those receptors for 45 to 90 minutes. So when I get the question of, can Narcan hurt you? If somebody is experiencing another medical emergency or another substance intoxication overdose, it can't help them, but it can't hurt them. And when we're looking at the adverse side effects of Narcan, there's less than a 0.01% chance that somebody is going to experience an adverse reaction to Narcan. And when we look at what those the side effects are, they're usually not very serious. They're things like headache or a nosebleed or something like that. So when in doubt, if you see signs and symptoms of an opioid overdose, it's better to administer Narcan and wait for emergency medical to get there, just in case they are experiencing an opioid overdose. It can definitely save their life if that's what's going on for them, but it's not going to help them if they're not experiencing that opioid emergency, but it's not going to hurt them. Next, the most frequent question that I get is, does Narcan expire? So people will have been trained years ago, and they'll say, oh, I already got a training when I first started in the nursing field or when I first started working at the school. And so I remind people that, one, yes, Narcan does expire, so it is good to make sure that your kit is up to date and that it's not expired. But the state recommends that we all get trained at least every 2 years to make sure that we have the most up-to-date information about how to utilize Narcan, any changes with opioid trends, especially things like synthetic opioids, fentanyl. We definitely want to have the most up-to-date information on that. That being said, with the COVID epidemic, we saw shortages in supplies for Narcan. So if you do have expired naloxone, we don't want you to toss it or get rid of it until you have a replacement kit, because having expired naloxone is better than having no naloxone at all. You can definitely still use expired naloxone if that's all that you have. It's better to use expired naloxone than have nothing at all. So definitely check the dates on your kits. Give the Prevention Council a call if you need a new kit or if you need some guidance on where you can get a new kit. But the great thing about the pandemic is that the manufacturers of Narcan went back to the FDA and said, we think that this medication has a longer shelf life than just the 2 years that it's approved for right now. So the current naloxone is approved for 3-year shelf life, which means that people are able to hang on to it longer and that its effectiveness has a longer shelf life. So that's really great news. The third question that I get asked is, how old do you have to be to carry Narcan? Now, the great news here in New York State is that there is no age restrictions on who can carry naloxone. And that's really great news, because we are seeing increased overdose rates in our young people population. So under 18, even under 24. So getting people who are in high school, whether they are the staffs or the students and parents of high schoolers, it's really great to get these people trained and to have them carrying naloxone, because this age demographic is definitely at risk right now for experiencing opioid emergencies, and Narcan can definitely help. Number 4, I get a lot of people who say, I don't know anybody like that. I don't think I need to carry Narcan because I don't know anybody who is misusing opioids. And my number one reaction to that is you absolutely do. Statistically, you absolutely do know somebody who is experiencing opioid use disorder or is misusing opioids. And not only that, but accidental one-time overdose happens. And so we definitely want to be prepared the same way that we keep fire extinguishers in our home. When we have our fire inspector safety person come through and they're saying that we have to have fire extinguishers or fire smoke detectors throughout the home, we're not saying to them, well, we're not that kind of family who sets fires in the home. Obviously, you're probably not, but you want to have those things just in case, because anybody is at risk of experiencing a fire, an opioid emergency, these different things. So we want to be as prepared as possible, because as somebody who has been in many opioid emergencies, the worst feeling is not having the tools that you need to save a life in that instance. So why not just have Narcan available, especially since New York State has so graciously made it available and accessible to us as a general public. Lastly, I get the question of, this is really great, the Narcan is great, but what else can I do to help respond to opioid emergencies here in our county? And there's a couple of different things. The number one thing is to help dispel any myths or stigma around people who are using opioids. I know a ton of really great people who are really good, doing great things, who use drugs. And it doesn't mean that we shouldn't provide health care for those individuals just because they are misusing substances or they are experiencing an opioid use disorder. So helping to break that stigma is one thing that you can do. We also have additional resources at the Prevention Council of Putnam, such as safe medication disposal, so making opioids less accessible to be misused or to be ingested and cause an overdose. That's definitely something that you can do. So if you have any substance at home, but especially an opioid, a benzodiazepine, a stimulant, things like that that can be ingested and cause overdose, properly disposing of those in a safe medication disposal bag that we have available at the Prevention Council, or going to your local medication return site. Those are some really great things that you can do. Lastly, we also have fentanyl test strips at the Prevention Council, and this is a resource for people who are using drugs, whether they're opioids or other drugs, and they want to test those substances to make sure that fentanyl is not present in those substances, before they're using it, so that they have Narcan available if the substance does contain fentanyl, or they choose not to use that substance if it contains fentanyl, so that can save a life. So thank you so much for sticking with me for these 5 top most frequently asked questions. Thank you so much to everybody in our community who carries Naloxone, who does work to help reduce opioid overdose deaths. I really encourage you, if you do not carry Narcan, you can visit our website. You don't have to provide any information. We won't ask any questions. If you don't want us to discuss it further, you can just ask for a kit, come pick it up for us. We could drop it into the mail to you. Really, we don't want to, get rid of any obstacles possible to provide Naloxone to the community. So again, thank you for sticking with us, and hopefully you'll give us a visit over at the Prevention Council website, or give us a phone call at 845-225-4646. Thanks.